As if things couldn't get any worse for Brian Boone being associated with Sarah Boone, but they just have. And also, I've got a little bit more information on those telephone calls also. Just a quick disclaimer, everything that I'm going to say in this video, it's from my own research, it's my opinion, and it's for entertainment purposes only. That out of the way, let's get to it. So, on the 23rd of August this year, just about a week ago actually, Brian received a foreclosure on his property. And they've given him something like 20 days to respond. Weirdly enough, it had Sarah's name on that foreclosure as well, but then he also received a summons which just had his name on it. I just want to say as well, before I get too deep into it, I struggled with whether to do this video or not, because getting a summons on your property, it's quite a personal thing, isn't it? And Brian hasn't done anything wrong. So you're probably wondering, why is she highlighting that? Is he not going through enough? Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. But I think, do you know why I am? Because I want him to know that we're all behind him 100%, and that whatever he does, I want him to know that we can see that he's at the rough end of the stick here, well, apart from George, and that no matter what he does moving forward now, we are behind him 100%. And the fact that if he loses his home, I hope he doesn't. I really, really do hope he doesn't, because I'll get into it more so in a minute, but he did everything to keep that home for his son. So I hope he doesn't. But I think I just want to put the message out there that we all understand. It's probably spending left, right, and centre anyway on things for her, going to see her and doing things for her and sorting things out. It doesn't matter anyway. But yeah, I did struggle, but you'll probably understand why totally as we get much further into it. So yeah, so he's received this summons, and as I say, I really, really hope that he doesn't lose his home. Yeah, so I listened to the interview, not the one that he did while he was outside right after it happened, the one in the car with Chelsea and Scott, the detectives, and I was so sad for him. Sorry, that's my laptop. I was so sad for him because you can hear like a nervous laugh in him, about things here and there, and you can just tell he's just a really, really a really nice guy. And the other thing is, during that interview that he had in the car with them, it kind of comes to light that he actually was paying Sarah. Oh, sorry. He was actually paying Sarah alimony for the son, and the son was never there. So he was actually giving money to Sarah and George for them to live, and she wasn't spending anything on her son. So he actually says that they was practically paying the rent from what he gave to them. So he wasn't only keeping his own home, he was keeping her home as well, and probably paying for a wine or a vodka and all that as well. So this is why I've done this video. I know I'm going to keep saying that because I have struggled. I really, really have struggled on whether to do it or not. But I think it should, because I want, like I keep saying, I want him to know that we all understand, and as much as you could understand in that situation, and that we know it's not his fault. He's done everything. He's done everything for her. He's done everything for his son. It also comes to light in this interview as well that Sarah was, before the divorce and before they split up, that Sarah was seeing George. And from I'm trying to pick at it, but it seems to me that Brian was quite hurt when obviously George came on the scene, because he was still with Sarah, and it does seem, it seems as though he's gone full circle now and he's over it, but it appears from this interview that he was quite hurt with what happened at the time, and in the end, he just had to get a divorce. They'd done counselling and everything like that, and that hadn't worked. So, well, it won't, will it? If there's only one there and the other one's off on the piss with a boyfriend, then it's not going to work, is it? So, yeah, but every minute of this interview, it just appears to be a nicer and nicer person.
What can you tell me about her?
I don't. She's generally not. She can get a bit violent when she drinks. Not to this kind of extent. I don't know what happened exactly. But,
right. No, I'm just looking for.
But that was part of it. The alcohol has gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. That's one of the main reasons why I divorced her. I just couldn't deal with it. I mean, it got to the point where, on weekdays she'd go out, and I guess the George person is one of the people she had met, because I separated at one point and went over to my parents' house to live for a few months. And I guess she met him over at the pool place or something like that. But I'd come back and we were in therapy trying to work it out. And on a weeknight when he's got school the next day, I've got work the next day, she was out till 3 o'clock in the morning when the bar closes, and she'd bring people back over on the back porch.
So yeah, when Chelsea, the detective, asks him how long he's known Sarah, he's known her 20 years. And as I said in my previous video about him getting his son and not going visiting her for 20 years, because that would be 40 years that she's wrecked his life for, really. But 20 years, and I was really sad. I was really sad to know that he's been going through one bit of shit or another with her for 20 years, and he's got this ahead of him. Just listen to this next clip here. This clip nearly had me in tears, really, because he's talking about his experience with Sarah Boone, and he's talking about really how he suffered DV from Sarah Boone, and he almost says like, but it's okay. It's just the way that he explains it. Just have a listen.
And you said when she drinks that she can get physically aggressive.
She can. She did it to me a lot, where she'd hit me and stuff like that. She's tiny.
What do you mean hit though? Like open hand smack you, or like try to punch you?
Yeah, she'd punch me. More arms. She many times would use her claws. I had scratches on my neck at times, on my arms. Things like that where she'd dig with her claws. Okay. I never got that drunk, and I had restraint. I never touched her back. I think George didn't have that restraint, and at times he would hurt her back. So, for all I know, all the times he got arrested, she started it. I don't know. I wasn't there, so. Mm-hmm. But I know she could get violent at times.
Okay.
But I don't know. It wasn't anything too, I don't know, too much. Just...
Right, yeah, you don't feel like she was a huge threat, I'm assuming, right? No. Yeah, like you could handle yourself.
Yes.
Did she drink daily?
I think pretty much.
Okay. Do you know, like, her drink of choice?
That would be vodka.
Vodka.
Or wine, but vodka is the big one.
And does she or George have a job?
No. She hasn't worked for over 2 years. Well, I guess you could maybe call what he's got a job. He worked at the Ace Hardware up across the street here.
Okay.
Which is now going out of business.
Okay.
He kind of off and on worked there. When he did work, it was 15, 20 hours a week, something like that. My alimony and stuff basically pays for where they lived. So, gotcha. They didn't need a ton, but she was always calling to borrow money. And
right, I'm not just having a go at women now, but this is the time that it's relatable to women. Why do women think that just because they've got a nice man that they can to them? I don't know if I can say that word. I might have to blank that out. But why? What is it that? Who do they think they are? That they just put their hands on him, and it's because he's a big guy and he's a gentle giant. She can just like kick the shit out of him and just do what she wants. And poor Brian, he's like, oh, it's okay, you know. I could sort of like restrain myself. She don't have to restrain himself. He's got every right to do it back to her. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine her then? It just pisses me right off. It really does.
12:49, and that's when she answered.
Okay.
Freaking out, saying that George was dead, and could I please come over? So, I told her, you need to call the police. Mm-hmm. And went and got my dog in his crate and everything, and started heading over here. She called me again at 12:54, asking if I was going to be coming over, if I'd left yet. And I told her I had already left. I was going to be there in a couple minutes. So I got here, knocked on the door, walked in just right in the front entrance area. Told her once again, you need to call the police.
Was she on the phone with anyone when
Not
you
yet.
saw her?
Not yet. She was shaking and she was trying to get herself something to drink because she was just like freaking out. So that's when she got on the phone and called, and I said, I'm going outside because I don't really want to be in here right now. So I came outside and I sat in my car until people showed up, and it's kind of where we've gone from there. So
okay, so you called her about 5 or 6 times before she answered.
Yeah, which completely
normal to you. Okay.
So I started calling her about 10:30. Never got any answer until I can tell you. So, but I mean, she started just getting really angry when she drank a lot. She said last night she fell asleep. There were plenty of times where she just basically passed out from drinking. So,
so you've witnessed her pass out from drinking?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And when she passes out, is she like out cold?
Oh, she's out.
Like how difficult would it be to like wake her?
Well, I mean, if I were to like shake her or something, right, I could probably wake her up. But me making a phone call or noise probably wouldn't do it.
Okay. When you came over here, I know you said that she called you freaking out saying he was dead. Did she give you any more, like, did you ask why or
She told me that they were playing last night or something, and he got in the suitcase and she fell asleep.
Okay.
That's all she told me, so I don't know anything beyond that.
Okay.
And I really didn't talk to her much because I came inside, I told her you need to call the police, and then I came back out, and I think she went on the back porch to smoke a cigarette, so I didn't even really talk with her much.
Oh, like she was going outside did you see her take a cigarette?
Yeah, she was going outside with I also know when the cops showed up, she kept on telling them she had a cigarette burning out there and she needed to go put it out.
Okay.
But they were keeping her away from stuff, I guess.
Right. Okay.
But, yeah, she wanted me to come back there with her. I was like, I'm going out here. I don't really want to be in here, so.
Right. And that's when she went to call 911.
It's good that Chelsea, the detective, is finding out quite soon on what her habits were, how she drank and how she fell asleep and things like that. And Brian's telling her as much as he can. And he really is. He's trying to help, even though he didn't like George. Brian's still being fair. Brian, to be honest, if he was bitter and that way inclined, he could be saying anything. He could have said anything to Sarah before the police got there. We'll say this, we'll say that. But he hasn't. He's been really, really honest. And yeah, so, and he was saying that she just like fell asleep. Now, I've always thought that she didn't go to bed. And I'll tell you why. And you know, in one of my previous videos, that I had a problem with this telephone thing as well. We'll just get further into that in a moment. But yeah, I'm not so sure that she went up the stairs to bed at all. I think that she stayed on that couch, and I think she enjoyed the show. That's what I think she did, because I think she's a piece of cake. That's what I think she is. That's the best way I can describe her. You know, people like Sarah Boone, who play the victim rather than the villain, it's very, very common for people that play the victim to involve other people. Otherwise, they've got nobody to play this out for, and that's why they involve other people. They usually like drama, but they always have a reason, and they jump the gun and go running to other people first. They cause the shit, and then they go running to other people and start being this victim. And this is what Sarah Boone does. And all the way through her relationship with George, she also called Brian at stupid times, middle of the night, late at night. Even though her son was in bed there, it didn't matter. She'd want to come round, you know, and talk about her problems and things like that. So he had all that, he had all that to put up with as well, Brian. Brian talks about her scratching and digging her nails in. And yeah, how does she explain that away in the interview room with George? That was covered in scratches. Well, we know what she said, but yeah, she likes to dig her nails in. Honestly, I can't even tell you what I'm hoping happens to her, because it's not nice. But I hope she does life. I really do. I hope she does life, and I hope she does life because then Brian will get a life. If she gets 15 years, I think Brian's just going to hang around. Not for her, but she'll hold him to ransom. Being that victim, she'll hold him to ransom and make him feel guilty, so that he doesn't do anything with his life. I just want him to go and meet somebody. I want him to get through this court case, be the witness that he's got to be, because he's got to be, and then just say, I'll see you. He's not going to do that because he's too nice, but that's what I want him to do. And I just hope he gets through this property thing. But I've got every faith in Brian that if he doesn't, he'll do the next best thing and find somewhere secure for him and his son. I'm sure he will. So, but I just want her to get life, so that Brian can then think, well, right, I've got no obligation to her now. I can do what I want. But I can imagine her from prison. I don't want any other woman around my son. I can just hear her now. I can just hear her. Oh, it's really, really affected me, this case. Honestly, it's really got to me.
Does Lucas play baseball or anything yet?
We've tried to get him into sports. He's not a big sports person, really.
Did you ever play baseball?
He didn't play baseball. Well, I mean, I had him like a t-ball set and stuff like that, and we'd play catch.
Is it like a plastic t-ball set, or what kind of equipment did you have?
Oh, no, this is when he was like 3 years old. It was a little plastic thing I had in the backyard.
Did you ever buy him any baseball bats or anything?
I bought one for over here that Sarah said for Lucas and George to like play with or something. That was like a year ago or something, maybe.
What kind of bat was it? Was it a wood bat?
Yeah, it was a wooden bat. I think it was like a junior size thingy. I don't know. It's something that I looked like kind of for his height or something, I think.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. Would you mind if I took a picture of your call log to show
Sure.
that you've all the
Do you just want to see hers, or like zoomed in on hers so you can see all those?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
So I'd say starting from today. I know her phone.
Did you text with her at all today?
Not today. I don't think I did today at all.
Okay, do you have anything else?
Yeah, do you know if she's ever had any issues with drugs in the past?
To my knowledge, she's never really been a drug person. She's big on alcohol.
So I'm glad that Scott Lowen, I think he's called, the other detective, has brought up about the baseball bat. They're getting everything. They're getting everything straight away there, and I'm glad they brought that up, because yeah, it from his injuries, it does look like he's been hit with something. I definitely think I think most people do. She went to town on him in that suitcase. I think, yeah, she pushed him down the stairs in it, and I think she did a lot of other things. And I'm glad that they've brought up about issues ever in and everything, because that sweeps that clean now. She can't use that. She can't say that she was and she didn't know what she was doing. She can't have that as a defence. So they've cleared that up before it even starts. I'm really, really glad. You know, can I say something? You know, when I first saw Scott and Chelsea in that interview room, at first I wasn't impressed with them. That shows my experience. But at first I wasn't impressed at all. But as I rewatch it, you can see that they've let her speak, and they've asked her things, and they didn't pass any judgment, so that to get her to react and to change the story and everything. So yeah, they did a really, really, really good job. I'm so pleased that she got them too. So just have a listen to this, because a few days after this, Chelsea calls Brian up on the phone, just tying up loose ends and asking him a few more questions that she didn't ask him that day. And yeah, Sarah called Brian on the Sunday night at 11:46. Just have a listen anyway.
Today's date is March 1st, 2020. The time now is approximately 16:41 hours. This is in reference to Orange County case number 20-017904. I am on the phone with, can you state your name, sir?
Brian Boone.
And I have a couple follow-up questions that I wanted to ask Brian Boone in reference to this case. Brian, just give me your date of birth for me.
5.
Okay. And do you promise and swear everything we're going to talk about is going to be true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a conversation about the incident and your involvement a few days ago, earlier this week, I believe on Tuesday. And after looking through Sarah's call logs, I noticed that she called you on February 23rd, which would be the Sunday night at around 23:46 hours, that's military time, but in normal time, that's 11:46 hours. Do you recall that phone call?
I do, well, somewhat. I was asleep when she called. So she woke me up. I was half asleep when I was talking to her. She did sound very inebriated.
Okay.
I don't remember what all she said. I'm kind of used to her calling drunk late at night and things like that, so it didn't faze me as anything.
So, what do you think about that? Because, don't forget, she filmed him at, was it 11:12 and 11:23? Thereabouts. And 11:46, she phoned Brian. So George was still in that suitcase. So, obviously, Brian was half asleep. He doesn't remember much about that conversation. I believe him, because I believe that was just par for the course with Sarah. That's what she used to do, just ring him pissed up, going on about her sad life all the time. Like he's got time for that. So, George was in that suitcase. So, was he alive? Or had he died by then? We're tending to think that he was alive. According to Sarah, he wasn't cold. But she said he wasn't cold. She said he was stiff, if you remember, but he wasn't cold. So I'm not going to take that into account. I'm wondering now whether he did die the night before or not. I don't know. Tell me what you think on that. How can you make a telephone call? What was she ringing him for? What did she want to say? The mind boggles, doesn't it? I've just put a snippet of the interview that they had with the property manager. Just bear with it. It's not very long, but there's kids playing in the background, but you can still hear it. But she does say that Sarah, again, as I said, Sarah had gone to her being a victim, but she does say, again, she's quite honest. She didn't jump on either side. But she does say that Sarah's very hands-on, always grabbing. That, that's like, listen to me, isn't it? That's that kind of attitude, always grabbing older people and that. And she was saying her assistant didn't like it very much and didn't like to see Sarah for anything. But yeah, just have a listen to this.
Would you ever speak with George by himself? Like, did he ever confide in you about their relationship?
The one time where, like I was just saying, that when I talked to her, she asked me to go talk to him. But she's like, please, but put the fear of God in him. Fear of God in him. I'm a very stern property manager. I don't tolerate a whole lot of crap.
Right.
And she knew that, and she seemed scared of him at the time. So I said, sure, no problem, just stay here. I will go talk to him. I went over, sat down, talked to George. I talked to him for about 30 minutes altogether. And, George had explained to me that she was actually the aggressive one. And the reason she ended up with marks is, in my perception of what he was trying to explain is that she's very hands-on, in the face, dramatized in talking and explaining or fussing or whatever they might have been doing.
Right.
And I believe that because Jean, my assistant, doesn't even like to deal with her, would avoid her like the plague because she was always drunk and she's very hands-on. There was one day, as a matter of fact, it was that same day that I talked to George by himself, she kept grabbing me by the arms to the point that I told her, I said, touch me one more time, we're going to have a problem. I'm either going to contact the police or whatever we need to do, but you can't keep grabbing on me. I had asked her several times to quit touching me. And because of that, she would do the same thing to Jean, and Jean didn't like it.
Right.
So, that's what he was explaining to me, is she was always the touchy one, the aggressive one, not that she was hitting him, but she would be like in his face, or she might, push him, or, little things like that. And she would block him from coming out of the room or whatnot, and he would take her and move her. You know what I mean? And just, that's the way he had explained it to me.
Right.
Yeah, so that's her. As I've said, I do want her to do life. I want her to plead not guilty. I do. I want her to do that. I don't want her to plead guilty. I want her to plead not guilty and get life. I want her to fight, kicking and screaming like George had to do, and then get life. As bad as that sounds, I really do. And my heart is breaking for Brian Boone, totally, because the guy's dedicated best part of a lifetime to her so far, and I just don't want him to spend the next 20 years and her little lad to have to think about her being there and going and obligating all these obligations everybody's got to her, while she just goes on the piss and gets drunk and disturbs everybody's life. She won't go to work, but she's on the piss every night. Yeah, okay. Wouldn't we all love that lifestyle? I wouldn't actually, but you get where I'm coming from. I'm going to keep checking in and seeing if anything else comes up, because that's all that's come up recently to do with Sarah Boone. So, and as I said, I did struggle with it, but I've done this for a reason, because he's not gonna see this, is he? Heck? But if he did, I just want him to know that it's okay that if you lose your property, it's not the end of the world. You know, your life and your lad's life is what matters, not Sarah, not Sarah's life. You two is what matters, and him moving on, and yeah, meeting somebody and having a nice life. That's all. That's what I want. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm also I'm covering the Dan Markle case, but where we're up to now, to find out what's going on with Charlie Adelson and Donna and Wendy. Wouldn't we like them three? Well, I know one of them's already there, but wouldn't we like them all there? So I've got a few things on that as well, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, if you just give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, like I said, this case, Sarah Boone case, the pre-trial is October 25th and the trial is November 7th, and I'll be covering that as well, so stay tuned for that, and in the meantime, stay safe and come back. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.